Hello everybody, welcome to the Traditions of Christmas Card Club, or I'm sorry, it's really called Traditional Labels Card Club. The designer paper we're using is Traditions of Christmas. I just wanted to explain a couple things in this first video. First, I have already die cut these labels for you, the traditional labels, but some of you did get the bundle for future use, so I wanted to give you some tips. I've cut these like 50 times between this class and another one, and I never really had a problem with that one, but this label right here, the more I cut with it, the more the paper really got stuck, and there's no holes to poke it out. And how was I able to keep cutting 50? Wax paper is the answer. If you're starting to have a problem with paper getting stuck in your dies, then you would put between, so if you're going to cut a label, you would put wax paper in between and cut. And usually once you do that, you get a few more runs before you have to do it again. And I sometimes, you know, as they sit in your machine and they might bend a little, I also try to bend them back into shape. So that's just a tip. If you got these labels, you may never need to do that because you may not be cutting 50 like I was, but that's just a tip. Another thing I'm going to show you, so we really have 4 patterns. We're making 8 cards and they look different because we're using different papers. But, oops, this is the set 1. So all 4 of these cards are going to come out of this sheet of paper. We are adding a little bit of extra, but this is like your main pattern. And then the next 4 that are the same card but just different paper, I cut out of this paper. I think this time I might do this one. I mean, you could pick what you want. I added the pink because this has some pink in it. But then like this card didn't really end up getting a lot of pink in it. So you could do any of those, I think, on this one. Let's see what we're using on the other side. Well, you have 2 of everything anyway, so it doesn't matter. So in this video, I'm going to just show you the one sheet wonder, how you can cut one sheet and get all these pieces. But then at the beginning of each video, I will also show you how to cut for that video. So, and then this I just have to remind me, if you want to put a flap on your envelope with your leftover paper, you just cut a piece about 2 1/4 inches wide, and I usually just leave it at the 6, and you glue it on that flap, and then you would turn it over. I mean, you wouldn't have this giant piece, and you would trim off the extra to get it to fit that size. So that's just extra if you want. And then the inside of my cards, at first I was trying to use the same stamp set. So this is that same stamp set, traditional labels, and then the Merry Christmas comes from there. But then when I had Merry Christmas on the front, I ended up using some other stamp sets that are also fairly new. I used this Jolly Holly on one of them, and then I used Words for the Season, I think, on these 2. I did different stamp sets. I just realized I used the wrong thing. That's okay. Anyway, so, and then the little these little strips on the inside, I do them like between 3/8 and 1/2 inch tall. So that's how those are, in case I forget to put that on the instructions. So let's cut our first piece, our one sheet wonder. They call that when you use every little bit of one sheet to make cards. You don't have any left over. So our first step was we're going to cut it into 4ths, 3 by 3. So you'll cut it at 3, and then you'll turn and cut those pieces at 3. Okay. So those are your basic pieces, and you're going to use one of these on each of the cards. Our very first card will just be a single one. You don't have to do anything further. Okay, so that's one. Our second card, we're going to cut into 3 strips. So you can decide which paper you want to do if you have a preference. I try to keep them in the order. I'm trying to decide which I want to do. And you're going to cut that into 3 1-inch strips. So one, I'm going to have that be my bottoms when I stack these. And now mine's a little bigger, so I'm just going to kind of line it between my 2 1-inch lines. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's card 2. And again, I will show you these with the next one at the beginning of each video. Card 3, we're going to cut this piece into 4 squares that are 1.5 inches wide. So I would just line that up on each side between those 2 1.5-inch lines, and then turn them. This is the other one. I really had a trick putting it back together once I got it out of order. So that's why those are the top. You may want to wait and cut these right before you're about to do it, because once I separated mine, I got really confused. Not that it matters, but if you wanted to build that picture you had. Yeah. Oh no, I cut that wrong. Shoot. I just did that wrong. It's supposed to be 1.5. I don't know what I did. I messed that up. Well, that's okay. I'm gonna have a different one to show you. But luckily you have 2 sheets of each one. So if you mess it up, it's not the end of the world, even though that felt like it. Okay, so this last one, you're gonna cut on the diagonal. And when you're cutting on a diagonal, you wanna start in the middle, because if you come up or down, it's going to bend your corners. So you get your corners lined up on the groove, but then you start in the middle and cut to the edges. Okay, so that will be my last piece. I'm gonna go like that to keep them together. They're not exact, but it's gonna be okay. All right, so that gives you your basics. I'll show you more at the beginning of each video.